America. Yeah.
In your back pocket.
Parking at the closest fucking thing would not be giving a fuck about.
Hey, you guys, you ever heard of Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast.
No, I haven't. Is it free?
Yes, it is.
Are there creation tools that allow you to edit it on your phone or computer?
Yeah, there are.
But is there a way that we can spread this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast?
Yeah, it does it for you. It allows you to make money with minimum listenership.
So if you haven't already, go to the Anchor app or anchor.fm to get started.
What they said. Welcome y'all to another special edition of Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Chef Mac. And this is episode 19, and we are talking about America. Yes. Happy Independence Day to all of you out there and everything. And we're going to have some deep discussions about the American ideals and what it means to us as a nation today. But before we get into all that, I will pass it to Scooby.
Make sure y'all get tuned in and tapped into the social medias. I'm at Scooby the Kid 252. To my left, we got at Chef Mac 1523. We got at Bill_Perry, at Cheryl Perry, and of course at Bridging the Gap 77 for the group podcast. No socials, so make sure y'all tuned in and tapped in, and that's all I got for them right now.
And before we even jump into this podcast, because I forgot to in the past too, let's hear a message from our sponsor. Man, I hope this podcast does good today, man. It's going to be very good.
Too, man. Oh, man, look at Scooby. Is always sleeping, man.
Man, he's always sleeping. Like, wake
But
up, you happy little camper.
Man. What's going on with you, baby?
Man, what's good, man? My neck is kind of hurting, bro, and I couldn't find a remote last night.
Oh, really? Huh.
Well, have you ever tried cherry blossom pillows?
Have you ever lost your remote on the couch?
Do you ever just need a spot to put your book in?
Do you ever just need a place to rest your head?
So if you need a pillow with a special pocket, Cherry Blossom Design has the right thing for you. Head on down to their Etsy store and use code BRIDGETHEGAP to get $5 off an order of 2 or more.
Get into the wellness. You know, how's everybody doing this week?
I'm doing good.
And again, we're talking future self. So how
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
think you're doing on the 1st of July?
I would imagine I'll be doing fairly well. I hope you're doing well out there, man. Bill, future Bill. But yeah, I'm feeling well. We've been putting in a lot of work, as y'all know. Y'all been amongst the people I've been working with and stuff, and we've been putting in a lot of work and everything. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling productive, and I'm feeling excited about the future.
Oh, I'm sure that I'm feeling great. I will have to hope that I will be close or maybe even in the studio around that time. And this time is going to be a little different because everything is going to be different, really. But, I might even have a chance to record in Missouri if I choose. But I think I'm going to keep it down here because I would much rather work with you guys and my family.
I see.
So hopefully we'll see how that goes there because, everything with the pandemic, just have to see.
Well, y'all stay tuned for Cheryl's secret music project.
She'll probably just be getting back from North Carolina at that time.
We will still be in North Carolina at that time.
We'll get back to 5th, right?
But this comes out on the 1st.
So we'll be just about to come back from North Carolina. And hopefully it was a good trip. We all made it safe. No tires, popped on the way down or anything like that. So, yeah, I'm glad to go to NC. Glad to be back.
Yeah, same. I'll probably still be asleep by the time this episode comes out, but I will be in North Carolina hanging out with my family, hanging out with my grandma, hanging out with my dad. It's going to be a good time down there.
And I'm doing good too. I laid me a few eggs this week.
Oh, all right. Congratulations, Abigail. All right. So, we're just going to get right into it. Let's talk about America. All right, so I mean, here we are. I'm not sure exactly how old America is. I guess my man can find that out right now and see exactly how old she
Well,
is.
1776, right?
Yeah, 1776 to 2020. My math, I'm not, a math.
Well, it would be
guy.
200 years, 1976. So I guess we'll
Yeah.
have 240 maybe.
It's
243?
definitely shy of 300. We know that much.
I think it's shy of 250.
It could be shy of 250
Oh,
even.
shit.
Because I mean,
243.
Yeah. That's
oh,
what I said.
243. Look at
243.
Shy, the math goddess over here. So, here we stand as a country and we know where we are and everything collectively. And, but not so much touching on that like we've touched on the last couple of shows, but speaking more to the ideals and what America should at least represent idealistically and what its tenets and stuff cover, and as far as our inalienable rights. And kind of just discussing what these ideals mean to us, and do we see this perhaps in our nation being manifested? So.
Shit, like, just speaking on America being only 243 years old, that's just like, doesn't seem like a long amount of time.
We're still babies in the consideration of like England at 1066. That's almost 1,000 years old.
Hey man, in Rome,
Rome
Yeah.
was over 1,000. I think,
Yeah,
before 1,000.
So yeah, I mean, and even in modern societies, I mean, certain African countries are older than us. Places in Spanish countries.
Oh, I think like the
Russia's older than
Mayans
us.
or the Aztecs were like 5,000.
Yeah, they go
years or
way
something.
back. And and the ideals of those people from like those times, that's why I was kind of saying, setting it up like that idealistically, because times have changed.
Yeah.
Aztecs and stuff, believed in sacrifice, human sacrifice to gods,
Wow.
that would bring about prosperity in various ways. And idealistically, we look at that as like, whoa, but the way we are right now. Do you guys think that we're civilized enough to where it's 100 years from now, we'll be like they was on the right track, or we'll really laugh at ourselves?
Oh, we're definitely not on the right track right now. I think that a lot of things, that's what it's changing for, and a lot of people are protesting about, and hopefully we can see some change, so maybe in the future our kids will have different ideals than we had coming up.
Like, you think 100 years from now, do you think we would have already had not just our first, but a few female presidents?
Oh, I hope. You never know. I hope.
I mean, it took 200
We
years to get a black man. So.
But people in the 60s were saying it was going to take another 200 years before there's ever a black president, and here comes Obama. So
I mean, I honestly thought I was going to be an old man before we saw that shot.
We
I thought I was
used
going to be
to
like
say we
7
might
years
not see
old or
it.
something. And I was young,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, and we were young when he became president, so it could very well happen, in our lifetime
And
for a woman.
And you know what I find interesting, dynamically speaking? Kids of all cultures, but specifically in this case with white kids and stuff, and other people that are not black and stuff. He became president. When did Obama become president first?
2008.
2008. All right. So you think about kids at that time, right?
I was 8 and he was 12.
So even for them, in their lifetime, they've had a black man that resided in the White House longer than the white presidents that have been in office. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, we've only had Trump since that time and everything, and there are little kids that, the president that held the longest term in their lifetime so far is Obama, because he's a 2-term president and stuff. Right now Trump is just on his first term. So in other words, there's a dynamic where there are going to be kids, those kids are going to grow up, and their stories are going to start with Obama. Like,
Yeah.
I came up in the time that our nation first had, their first black president, African-American president, and that kind of climate, what it creates dynamically for people of all races, and the possibility factor is higher. Because like when me and Shy was coming up, we didn't see a lot of like prominent black, politicians. I mean, Jesse Jackson like knocked on the door the closest on becoming president, as it were, during our lifetime. And hadn't really seen anybody with that kind of potential up until Obama, and that took well into the next millennium.
And that's why, in my opinion, you could argue, like, I see what you mean when you say we're not on the right track, but in the same light, it's like, me as a, 24-year-old white dude coming up, like, it's honestly like, at least in my generation, I see a lot more people than I feel like it would have been in y'all's time coming up that are on the right track of history or on the right side of history, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's usually the young people that takes things forward.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are the ones with the modern new ideas. It has to be the young people that's going to lead the way. If you guys ended up being stuck where, you know, in the past, I mean, we would never get anywhere. We
Or
would be
emulating, their parents like to a T.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
be just like us. Don't break away from this way of being.
Stay confined, conform to the masses and really be just like everyone else. You have to be able to break away and think outside the box. And young people, because they don't have so many hang-ups and all of this stuff on them, it's easy for them to do it. And people are so much, because little by little each generation has been more accepting. So you guys, by the time it got down to you guys, you're just very, very accepting about a lot of things that even our generation wouldn't have been. But I think the ideals of America is absolutely amazing. That's why the country became what it became. The ideas, it's a matter of putting that into practice, which has not been equal for everyone. And so this is why, people are fighting. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That should be for everyone. We should have our life. We should have our liberty. We should be able to pursue, whenever we dream.
Yeah, it's a constant pursuit, and we're the only country in the world that I could think of where you can come from nothing and be something. You can actually become the president if you have the right things going on.
I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh my God. He took that out of my mind and said it.
Exactly. And see, the only thing that hinders him from being president is because he was born in another country.
Yeah.
But he became governor of one of our states.
Yeah.
And
one of the greatest states. You know what I mean?
And his whole story is just interesting in general as far as his come up. He was a skinny kid and all that got picked on and this and that and the other. And now we know him as the muscle bound guy that he is and stuff. And the movies and all that. Like Shy, we watched Hercules, which he knows about that movie too.
Yeah.
And that acting it, I am Hercules. Like, oh, poor Arnold. We commend you for getting better, man.
We love you, Arnold.
But he had, he admits to how he wasn't, I think Shaw was the one that was telling me about the backstory of it all, and like how he got acting lessons and such. He knew that was a weakness. And then on down the line, he gets Terminator.
And he bettered himself.
And, he just kept bettering himself.
Because that's what things in this country can allow people to do. Freely express yourself and express your art and opinions. There are some places where art is censored. Places in China, their Twitter they call it Weibo or something like that, is censored. They don't get a lot of the news that is happening around the world. And you have to truly appreciate, when you look at other places, you have to truly appreciate the things that are here. We're not completely free like how they say. For every law, there's something that's against it. Like how Dad said, you can't even, back in the day, you couldn't even spit on the street in Chicago. You could get arrested.
Oh, you could, the Laughing Barrel.
Exactly. There's always
The Laughing Barrel. A black person couldn't be seen laughing in public, so they had to stick their head in a barrel and laugh, bro. It was called Laughing Barrel. Laughing Barrel. For those who haven't gotten hip to that, look it up. There was certain pockets down here in the South where a black person couldn't be seen laughing because it was considered disrespectful to the white people that were walking about. So they literally had to dip their head in a barrel and laugh.
Yeah. There has been some strange laws, some very strange laws in this country.
You know that, I don't remember exactly which state it is. Speaking of strange laws, it's illegal on Sundays to have an ice cream cone in your back pocket.
In your back?
In your back pocket.
Back pocket in particular. Yeah. Front pocket, you're all right. In the back.
Put it in your purse.
I can see that because maybe there's a lot of kids that sit on benches and then, it's just like the gum. I wish there was a law for people putting gum under their damn desk and benches and stuff. And I mean, man, come on, y'all. Nobody like to step on gum.
Oh man, that's the worst feeling when you sit at your school desk and you just kind of I don't know why you reach under your desk, but you do.
But that feeling, man, that gum. No.
And then when it's fresh, it's
oh my God, no.
Man,
but see again, but now realistically, I say that in passing and joking and stuff, but those are the kind of nuances of us as humans that you really wouldn't want to put a law in play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I say that jokingly, but this is what I'm getting at about ideally, what do we need to implement that allows us to better ourselves as a nation with types of policies it benefit us as a society, even though it took a push, for example with the bus boycott and Rosa Parks and all them and everything, and it took a year A year, man. We haven't even been in this pandemic for a year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A year of doing that. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, you know, they caved in.
No, I was going to say during the pandemic, to me, it felt like we went from March to June.
Yeah.
Everything else is scheduled. It's like March to June.
Yes.
Oh man, March was so long. It felt like, it was. I think March or April. One of those months felt really long.
Yeah, it was probably
We
April.
were just getting adjusted to the pandemic and everything. But you know, of course, you know, when all the things has popped out and gotten us talking about the conversation of, you know, what kind of country we are, you know, like you said earlier, Shy, like ideally we, like in print, like, you know, the
In
way
theory.
the way the Constitution reads, the way the Bill of Rights read. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can still do this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, tranquility, ensure the domestic,
Tranquility.
to ourselves, do ordain this. The United States of America, I botched it. I used to know the preamble to the Constitution. I haven't said it in
You
years.
did pretty good there.
But we used to have to say it in like 5th grade or 4th grade or something, you know, and, but
We the people of this United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union,
I got
establish justice, ensure domestic
got all
tranquility,
that.
provide for the
common defense, promote the general welfare,
and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution
for the United States of America. That is beautiful, right? That is beautiful. Same thing with when you start reading little fragments of the Bill of Rights. But you know, the way people will like, you know, play it out. Like for example, you know, the First Amendment, you know, the freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? But like Ice-T say, freedom of speech, but watch what you say kind of thing, right? Because it's like, you have the right to say whatever you want, but then those people that like to exercise hate, you know, and all kind of other various.
It literally says if you actually read the First Amendment, it says you have the freedom of speech, but you cannot slander another. Or it's either slander or the one that is. I know that there's one like libel and slander. Like,
well, we do have that in our judiciary process. You know, we do have slander. Like, you know, if you say something slanderous, you know what I'm saying, you can be sued for that.
Yeah.
You know, but the person that is slandering you have the right if they understand that repercussion.
Yeah.
If I slander you in a public fashion and I realize what the repercussion is, you could sue me for slander,
Yeah.
and I still do it. You know, like a lot of news outlets do it all the time. They'll slander people, but they got the money to pay for the slanderous lawsuits.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, you know, when you give somebody, like, you know, the freedom of speech, you know, they have the ability to use it right or wrong. Just like, you know, with the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
Yeah, I was leading to that.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
was going to lead to that. That's why I
think
mentioned it.
also the freedom of speech is you can say what you want, but you don't have to worry about the government coming down on you.
But
the
there
government.
it is.
Yeah.
Therein lies the kicker, because see, in a lot of other countries, as we know, you know, especially with countries with warlords and the like and stuff, you know, and prop up dictators and the like, they immediately quell the people from doing anything or saying anything. In those kind of societies, like here, our comedians can joke on a nightly basis about the president.
You can
of the
make
United
cartoons
States.
about him,
Cartoons
drawings.
about him, make fun of him in any way.
And
I'm
that
talking
goes
about,
back to like the beginning of America, those drawings.
yeah,
and
the
cartoons.
caricatures and stuff. But I'm talking about like the most, like, I mean, like it can draw the worst things about you, you know? And I mean, of course, we know what they did with Obama and stuff with him being black, but you know, they're doing it with Trump too. I see all kind of stuff about Trump.
They
man.
do it worse with him because they call him stupid.
And all kind of stuff. I've seen the, you know, caricatures of him looking like a Cheeto and all this kind of stuff.
A potato. and-
Monsters.
yeah.
Even him looking like a monster, like all kind of stuff. But guess what? All these people that are drawing these things, they don't have to sit in their home in anonymity, being all scared in the dark. Like, oh God, if I publish this, you know, President Trump may send his henchmen, you know, to come get me, KGB style, as it were. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And therein lies how we have to appreciate those kinds of advantages as a nation. You know, while we're all like infighting like that, it's like, y'all, our nation is so cool that we can actually protest the establishment.
Exactly.
Right
That's
in
how-
front of the White
right
House.
in front of the White House.
So I wanted to say this in a previous episode is like our country are supposed to be like this. Our country is built so that we can do the same thing that George Washington did and overthrow the government if need be. Like
the right to assemble.
That's why we have the right to bear arms, because if we have that, like if we need to, we can be like, we can roll up to the White House and be like, this is wrong, and take it over and start new.
That's right.
What is that? For the people, by the people?
Yeah, governed by the people, for the people, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, like you say with George Washington there, man, that was considered tyranny and treasonous as far as the redcoats go and stuff at the time. But, they made sure to put it in their tenets that, you would be allowed to do that. And, now I don't recall anywhere in history where the people in our government made any standing president step down outside of, say, like your Nixon stuff or some of the old stuff. But I'm talking about like the people really, really rallying up, and they're outside, you must go, and then that person quit the presidency. I don't know no one in American history that's happened.
Other than Nixon, no, not really.
And even with Nixon, it was still
it was his choice. Like,
it was
he
his
like,
choice.
I'm gonna leave before I get
because
impeached.
he was eventually going to get impeached, and he just averted that. But even with that said, prior to Watergate, man, Nixon possibly could have won a second term. So it's like, he was popular with the people. What I'm talking about is like, which one of those kings was it? Was it Henry and one of them? Where the people, it was an uprising, you know what I'm saying?
The whole French Revolution was like
and Queen Antoinette, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not necessarily advocating that, but what I'm saying is like an uprising.
The uprising of the people.
We have that kind of power.
It's like, one of my favorite Tupac quotes of all time, the powers in the people and the politics that we address. And so like anything that you would want to change in America, you go through the right channels, then you have the ability to do that. And it starts in your local community. That's the beautiful part about America. It's like, we have this grand idea of this one nation, but in your individual communities, you have the same advantages to pass laws, that are beneficial for your communities. If you have, things that, if you want to get roads fixed, show up at the town hall meetings, you know what I'm saying? Make a point about it, and then they're going to fix it, because like, they're going to not be able to if, enough people stand up and kind of like, use your First Amendment right, but it has to go through the right channels, if we're going to live in this society, we can't just be like, we need to fix this. It has to go through like the laws and pass it.
And see, that's another one of our tenets that, goes understated, because people are real quick to go to the obvious of right to freedom of speech and right to bear arms, but the right to assembly.
Yeah.
And that's in the first.
That's a big part. Yeah, peaceful assembly. That's a big part of it. Because in peaceful assembly, it sparked revolution. I mean, when George Washington was meeting up, they were fiery, but they were fiery in their own little, wherever they were meeting at kind of deal.
I mean, take the Tea Party.
And then they eventually took it to them, but they wrote out a Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
That they, and as we all know, John Hancock signed it first and made sure. That's why we say, signing John Hancock, because he has the biggest signature on there. He wanted them to see his name.
Yeah.
Like, we done with y'all. John Hancock. I ain't scared. Now, the rest of y'all jump in. You know what I'm saying? And the rest of them got on up in there.
Because they were killing people, if I'm not mistaken, during the what's it called? The American Revolution. If if they were before, we seceded, they were, if you were talking like against the British, you would die or get in prison.
Yeah, I mean,
that's shit that happened in England too. If you disrespected King George was like, fuck you.
Yeah, and it was a wrap, essentially. But see, again,
and that's why we have these laws like that,
That's why,
if you read the Declaration, I'm sure y'all have heard of a Dear John letter.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is, because they never say King George's name, I don't believe, but they're always like, he quartered soldiers in our houses without, he taxed us, it's all grievances, like he did this to us, and when the history, they did the Articles of Confederation before they did the Constitution, and that. They, it was 3 years, and they were like, that didn't work. So they sat down and rewrote the Constitution, and they were like, we just got to make sure that we don't do the same things that we literally had a revolution for 10 years ago.
Right. And see, again, and then that's where, therein lies, amendments and the like. Being able to realize that, hey, man, times are going to be changing. And I think we spoke about this the other day. It's when they were first setting up America, they did not imagine the future America with 300 million people in the United States.
Yeah.
And all the different types of ideologies that would play out, technological advances that would change the way we communicate and the way that we even see one another and all that.
Becoming a global society.
Right. And so some of those tenets that they have that kind of just stand ground, you know, eternally, as it were, because, you know, the right to bear arms and free speech, those kind of tenets are intrinsic in our society. But like right now, we stand at the precipice of still questioning things that are implemented in law, but like, you know, the right for gay people to get married or anybody in the LGBT community, you know what I'm saying? Where like the question was back in the day, if people of different races could get married, and everyone having to adjust because policies were being made in different pockets of the nation where it's like, well, maybe here you can't get married like that, but here you can, and so on and so forth, till it eventually became a wave, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, there's still people that are against that, as it were, but societally speaking, it's accepted. But, you know, we're still off the heels of like, you know, Obama and stuff, you know, being for the LGBT community, allowing them to get married and stuff. His administration approved policies that allowed them to do so. But there are people still getting adjusted. Wasn't there that case not too long ago where some bakery
Something just happened today.
Some bakery didn't, you know, want to make the wedding cake because it had same sex on the wedding cake, so they, you know, disapproved them.
So the Supreme Court ruled for, okay, you can't fire an employee if they're gay. Yeah. So
Just let y'all see what I'm looking at.
I mean, see, this is what I mean about, you know, the freedoms that we're still fighting for, and the ideals are amazing, but it's like, you know, stuff like this. I mean, why would a person lose their job because of their sexual orientation? That's just so upsetting to me. It doesn't make sense. This is their livelihood, and you're going into their bedroom, something that's extremely private.
It's much ado about the bedroom at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like, why are you even thinking so much about that? Like, why does that bother you?
You know, in a lot of cases, I think that some people, especially with those that like, you know, guys that are against, you know, gay dudes or whatnot, you know, a lot of people are starting to kind of see through that in a lot of ways, like it's latent homosexuality. Like, oh, they touching on
They
this
think
shit.
about
You
it and
feel
talk
funny
about it
because,
a lot.
you know that's some shit that's in your ass, you
that's
know what I'm
real.
saying? And you ain't willing to admit that to yourself. And and what you hate is those that can admit it to themselves.
And live their life freely.
And live their life freely. They doing with their thing, and they're comfortable in their skin, and you're uncomfortable. You know, like in the movie, y'all seen what is it, American Beauty with Kevin Spacey? You know what I'm saying? And you remember how that guy was throughout the whole movie? He was super macho.
And the neighbor.
You know, but at the end of the movie, you know, he turns out to be. And Kevin Spacey wasn't. He thought he was because, you know, dude was just all nice.
He just was taking the tail end of things.
Yeah.
He showed his true self, and when he found out, he couldn't deal with it because of what society
And then
has
look what
put
he
on
ends up
it.
doing. You know what I'm saying? And that is
He would rather
society,
deal
too.
with that and then deal with what society would say to him. He would rather murder. And see, that's how deep and ingrained these type of things can be. And you can change the attitude of people when you change laws.
And see, that's why I was, you know, trying to make a point a couple of nights ago about policy, because we was having this up and down about that, you know, in terms of this policy really changed things. It's like, it forces you to reconsider, you know, because if it's not a policy, then you're allowed that First Amendment right to still oppose that. You know, I don't have to consider them, you know, because they still have to sit at the back of the bus. They still don't drink fountains and stuff next to it, so I don't have to consider them. But the moment you realize that when you look behind you after you drink your water, or before you drink your water, there's a black
And
man,
you're really
you know, a black
thirsty.
woman, and you're really thirsty, your ideals and all your precepts and shit can't no longer, you know, dictate to this man that he can't, or this woman that he can't drink there, she can't drink there. That's how policy starts changing attitudes and behavior. Psychologically speaking, that gets into a whole nother can of worms, but the way you interact with a person, because for all intents and purposes, we all probably interact with people that don't like something about us. You know, don't like you, Scooby, because your hair is long. Don't like me because I'm black. Don't like Shy because she's a black and female, so on and so forth. You know, don't like him because he's big, and this, that, and the other. But may not necessarily say that to you, and will have to respect you for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, respect your existence. Like, you know, we all get frustrated, for example, when we go to a parking lot and the only parking space left is the handicap. You know what I'm saying? And I be in my mind like, I don't really think there's gonna be no handicap people that's gonna come out today. Just to, you know, play all this shit in my head to try to force myself to go into that spot, which I don't, by the way. I don't take handicap spots. But I'll try to talk myself into it by not guilting myself into the obvious, like, motherfucker, they need that spot more than you. Just stop trying to tell yourself, oh, that, you know, oh, it doesn't look like no people, you know, handicapped or mentally, I don't know how, physically challenged people are coming. But that's all a way of trying to dupe myself into taking that spot that's not rightfully mine.
Even my
You know what I'm saying?
my Grammy, who has a handicap like tag and sticker on her car, tries not to park in the handicap spot unless it's like the last spot open, because she knows that she can walk a little bit to get to Walmart.
There may be someone who's coming out of a van in a wheelchair type shit, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. And you got to consider those moments. It can happen at any time, and that instance that you decide I'm going to park in there is when you fuck up. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I mean about societal precepts, where, you know, in implementing policy, because guess what? If they didn't do that, all of us, including myself, will be parking at the closest fucking thing. Would not be giving a fuck about the mentally disabled and stuff like that. Not saying we don't care, but you know what I mean? Like, when you're going to a store,
You're not thinking about that.
shit, you see an open spot in front of the store, and you know you're just gonna be in and out. You rush into the nearest spot. But if it's a handicap allocated zone, you have to reconsider your shit. You know what I'm saying?
Respect for whoever might, even if they don't.
Right. Even if it be empty the whole time, you go in and out, and no handicapped person ever parked in that spot. So fucking be it. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? That's the fucking law, and it's right. That's another thing about it. It ain't just only that it's the law; it's right. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, a lot of our things, if not, it could be argued, all supposedly is supposed to be based on our moral compass. In doing that, that provides for a higher grade of living. We consider others. We are compassionate, and empathy is applied to others. You know, again, getting back to race stuff or women stuff and any plight of people where, you know, we had to fight as a society to ensure that these people were not marginalized and disenfranchised anymore and all this kind of stuff. You know, we always have to readjust. You know, at the beginning of America, there were slaves. You know, I can't remember how many presidents, but we were deep in. You know what I'm saying? Maybe arguably all the way up to Lincoln, and he was the 16th.
And
you know what I'm saying?
the Chinese built our railroads.
Free of charge, just like how we fucking built a lot of shit in this country free of charge.
How the fuck they pull that off?
Well, they had indentured servitude with the Chinese as well. You know, that's how slaves initially got here, was indentured servitude initially. You know, because there were white Irish slaves and shit too that were in it. The difference was that they enslaved us for life. That was the big difference, whereas they had 7 years indentured servitude, you know, with them.
And the Chinese could do things to make money. They could wash clothes. They could do
They
different
can actually
things
get income.
Yeah, and start a business. And
Was that the Breezy episode that she was talking about how, like, you know, the rich people were looking for a way to, like, you know, get the white people to feel like they were better than the black poor people?
Yeah,
That was on the
and that's true.
last week.
I've heard that a few times.
I've
where
heard that before too.
the construct of race relations, as it were, you know, making poor white people feel like, hey, you know,
you got a little one up.
You're better than them niggas over there, to get them to vote for their interest and shit. And it could be argued that's going on right now, where you have some poor white person and shit, you know, in a trailer park, talking about Trump speaks his language. A man who's been rich and privileged all his damn life.
That would
but
never
Trump
have
speaks to
nothing.
his ideals. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, but goddamn, man, you just as poor as any other person. I'll be like, what the shit?
There's no way.
You know, but Trump is speaking to your ideals? You know, but he panders.
Well, he taps into that racist
Yeah,
part
he
of their
panders,
ideas.
man. He knows that there's a certain way of being, and those people are still based off of that construct of, hey, you may be this and that and the other, but you're better than that.
At least you're
above
white.
That.
So
If
they
you're
have
white,
that attitude.
You know, at any time in your life, if you just flip the script, all the privileges of America would be bestowed upon you. When the reality is that ain't what happens.
That's not the truth at all.
As a matter of fact, here's a kicker a lot of y'all may know. Do y'all know that there's more white people on welfare? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because consider the math. There's only 40 million of us, I think, and we're the top minority number. There's 350 million people in America. And we're at the top at 40 million. That means there's 310 million white people. You know what I'm saying? So how the hell can we have bigger numbers, you know, statistically speaking, with welfare? So
That's true though, because it's like, you know, in America, like, you know, we was talking earlier, like the great ideals, you know, but just the idea that money runs everything, you know, and people big businesses can fund politicians for the benefit of like passing laws that really fuck everybody, and just they make more money, keep the, you know, the poor and the rich get richer.
The government does not care about you.
No.
Us, you know, the government does not care. You know, we're stepping stones to get, you know, whatever they need done. But when it comes to the average person, we can see exactly how they don't care. You know, as soon as this pandemic happened, people just lost so much. They lost, and then they had such a hard time just getting the little bit that they did. But there's so much more that we can do to help, because you can see it in other countries, how they've helped their citizens and the models that they do. You know, so there's so much more that we really can do when it comes to education, you know, let alone healthcare, and you know, we could do so much more to better our society, and that's where the greatness comes. But you know, everybody has to be willing to be a part of it and not be so greedy, and just take the money and really run, and who knows what happens with it a lot of times. This stimulus they passed, what happened with this money other than what they gave to the people? You know, there's like billions of dollars that's unaccounted for.
It's just out there in thin air.
Same thing with unemployment. Like people like myself is trying to acquire right now. It's
right.
They're putting this mandate, and this, you know, it's going to end at a certain time. It's like, dude, what are you going to do about all the millions of people that couldn't get through your phone lines and all the various pockets of? It's crazy, man. And you know, and see, because you know, and when there's an economic, you know, discord in a nation, it's hard to consider certain, you know, things that we're speaking upon now, because everybody's going inward with their economic strife. So you know, you got the person that's like, you know, yeah, I see what the Black Lives Matter people are talking about, but man, I got like a week, or I may lose my home.
Yeah.
So economically, it's you know, people are trying to balance what's going on around us with all the different strife, you know, from various fronts, to their own personal strife, the economic strife, which we all share a commonality with. You know, and you know, I will give it to the government for at least passing that stimulus bill. It's obviously not enough. You know, I'm not an economist, so I don't know economically what the answer would be, but we do know that it needs to be better. We all universally agree with that, you know, because in some cases that $1,200 was just some people's mortgage payment.
Yeah.
You know, in certain areas.
Maybe it didn't even, some people are like $1,500 for their mortgage, and so it's like $1,200.
It didn't even, it's $1,200. It's like, damn, I'm still $300 just for my mortgage payment, not even counting utilities and insurance, and if you got children and so on and so forth. Food and the like, just living expenses.
And that's another thing, you know, coming up, we've always heard, especially like feed Africa, feed these other places, feed the hungry children in other countries. Now it's all of a sudden feed America. I'm looking around, donate to feed America. This is, and it's blowing me away. Chicago, especially the minority areas, they're hungry, they're starving. They're getting boxes of food. You know, people are donating food to them. Rich people in the Black community have raised like $17 million. These are like CEOs and people like that you just don't hear about. I'm not talking about the Jay-Z's and all them. Yeah, these
the
are
ones
like
that don't make it to the, you know, paparazzi
right.
stuff.
Yeah, they all came together and raised this money, and they spread that money out throughout America. And this is blowing me away to hear stuff like that. You know, feed America. No, we feed other people. You know, it's like we were.
And Shy, you speak to something, Shy, that, and I'm going to be looking at the billionaires as I say this. There's people out there that I know that they're doing things. I read about people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and them doing things on a world.
Oh wait, can I say something real quick? I read somewhere that they said that if you got $1 bills and you of his money, and you stacked it all the way to the moon, you can go to the moon 3 times and come back.
That man guapped up for real. That's too much money.
You can go to the moon 3 times. And
holy shit, with $1 bill.
That's a grotesque amount of wealth.
That's grotesque. Yeah, that's a great word for that.
It really is.
Because when you think about
what we're talking about here, it's for someone to live in that kind of opulence, and they're not even royalty. That man is richer than royalty.
Yeah,
he's richer than Queen Elizabeth II, bruh.
That's
J.K. Rowling is.
Oh, I was just about to say she's richer than her.
And she's a book writer that came from welfare.
Man, bro.
And she's now richer than the Queen of England, I guess, asset-wise. I don't know how that plays out, because when it comes down to it, the Queen can do whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
those Harry Potter books.
Yeah, but economically, on whatever how it plays out or whatever, you know, her monetary worth is more. And but now that's over there. But getting back to over here, like I say, you know, when we talk about people investing in programs, we have people here that have an incredible amount of wealth that, you know, it's not their duty, as it were, but they could do more.
Yeah.
There could be more, you know, money, there could be more, you know, opportunity, there could be more, you know, Warren Buffett's or back in the day, Andrew Carnegie, who the latter part of his life was all about giving his money away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He died with just a few mil and stuff like that. Like, you know, and the guy was one of the richest people that ever lived type of thing. But he was he put the staple on what a philanthropist should be about. You know, Carnegie's like the bar, you know what I'm saying? And all these rich people now is like, you know, probably trying to measure up to his, because it's like, he knew that, hey, I and my seeds will be taken care of. That's the main thing here, that, you know, well, in giving back, as it were, what, you know, will my people not be taken care of? If they are, and I can still give back, then hey, so be it. Because, you know, you try to acquire wealth for your family. Let's just keep it real. You know what I'm saying?
And hopefully for generations.
For generations. But if you're able to really amass a hell of a lot of wealth, like a Bill Gates and them, it's like,
You have a social responsibility. That's actually a term I learned in school. You have a social responsibility to give back.
I mean, you know, because you don't need all that. If you're worth $80 billion, $80 billion, you know, people, you know, we say these kind of numbers nowadays because we hear it so much, but really put that in perspective, man. Do you know, I saw something one day, something about, I think it was either Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, one or the other. LeBron James, you know, arguably the richest basketball player in the game kind of thing, right? As far as the whole package. They said, and this man is rich. They said it would take LeBron James over 2,000 years making the current wealth that he has nonstop to make the kind of money that Jeff Bezos has.
That's
2,000 years. He would have to live as far back as Jesus had been living in Jesus' time, accumulating his wealth from that time to now to equal a Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And that's talking about making the money that he makes, as he, you know, the millions that he makes. That is putting in perspective how rich these motherfuckers are, man. That it would take even LeBron James fucking 2 millennia to be as rich as one man.
That's
Fuck out of here. And then we sitting here talking about people getting food in fucking boxes and shit.
Yeah, bro.
Huh?
The place that sends out the food, they send out 5 million boxes a week. That's how much food they're sending out.
And great to that organization that's doing that, and maybe some of them rich people that I'm talking about may be behind some of that, and that'd be great too. But it's not so much, you know, pinpointing them at it as it is, you know, when we talk about the welfare, we was talking about the Constitution, you know, provide for the domestic welfare of the people, whatever how it was worded there. It's just like, again, that would seem like that is an intrinsic duty as an American citizen to want to give back, you know, in a way that helps not just individuals, as it were, with various like causes, but to help the economy balance itself out in
Help
some sort of
society,
way.
uplift
You know
society.
what I'm saying? Uplift society in some sort of way, you know, through Elon Musk is an example. Elon Musk is the example because he has wealth. He's actually changing the scope of shit. This motherfucker's beyond NASA now, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about.
He's one of them, like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, he was born in South Africa. He started from nothing. He moved to Canada.
I don't know his story.
Yeah.
He moved to
I
Canada
just know he has an
first.
interesting ass name.
I don't know exactly what he did in Canada, but I believe that while he was in Canada, he found SpaceX, moved to America, got his citizenship, and look at where he is now. Founder of SpaceX, CEO of Tesla, you know, CEO of SpaceX.
And steadily not only gives back his wealth, but he gives back his mind.
Now, see,
You know
that's
what
the
I'm saying?
perfect ideal of how America works. You know, somebody coming here from another country, and Jesus Christ, look how he succeeded. You know,
I mean, he moved here in 2002, so for 18 years, it took him. I mean, yeah, it's a long time, but like in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long.
And his
No, it's
success is predicated on bettering society.
It really is.
You know, even though people are, you know, back and forth about Bill Gates, but in the beginning, he changed shit. Windows changed shit, bruh. You know, nobody, including myself, you know, doing the internet, or that wasn't even a term. You wasn't netting or, you know, surfing and all that kind of shit. It's like, but that created the groundwork for what would be. Now, okay, you know, maybe he stole some of his this and that and whatever have you. But, you know, the idea of Windows,
I was just thinking-
compartmentalizing, you know, different things.
I was just thinking, you know, like scrolling a scroll. a scroll is one of those old-fashioned, letters that,
A scroll, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Hear ye, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, and now scrolling is this. You know what I'm saying? And see, now that steps up into the Steve Jobs stuff there. We start talking about that kind of ingenuity that would play out later on with smartphones and the like. But these kind of people, when they gave to society, as it were, it was their ingenuity that changed the parameters of the way we dealt with each other. It was a paradigm shift. You know what I'm saying? Literally, like, dude, from 95 onward, the game was changed. I remember how the 90s was leading up to 95, and the 90s felt like the 80s and the 70s, as far as the way we were, the way we communicated. We still used phones. Motherfuckers still went to a fucking pay booth, and that shit was still, okay, things was a little bit better technologically speaking, but it was the same shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We didn't foresee this.
Yeah, this motherfucker was not on our brains in 1985 and shit, 94 and 93 and shit. This motherfucker could not be predicted. You know what I'm saying? This is shit you saw in the movie. Matter of fact, movies wasn't even that good. Movies didn't even have a device that did all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think in the movies, you could see yourself on the screen, but I don't think you could actually make a phone call, do some other shit, program other shit from that same device in any movie prior to 95.
Yeah.
Taking into consideration, Bill Perry makes all his music on that phone.
And my videos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And up until that couple of years, 2017 is when I experimented with that. I had never made a complete album on a phone. Okay, now if I went back in time and told myself, guess what, man, not only one, but you're gonna produce 3 albums with this, I would probably shoot myself. My past self would just go, pow! Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, because how do you explain that? It would be like, go back and explain this to a caveman. They all sitting there trying to, and you just walk up. And then try to explain how that works. You know what I'm saying?
That's the second time you've done that on the podcast.
Yeah, because I consider this a big leap from that.
Oh, no. If you went back in time, you would become a god.
This is, I would be Prometheus.
You have to have more than one lighter, though.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I would be Prometheus if I went back in time and did this. You know what I'm saying? I would be giving them the fire. Matter of fact, I would alter time. Prometheus would have my image.
No,
like,
I was thinking if you took something back like that and then came back to the future and left it there, we would have flying cars by now.
Oh, you know what? It'd probably be even more Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Captain Kirk would exist in that future and stuff. Hell yeah. Because you would alter the speed of technology. You know what I'm saying?
Or could you argue that they might burn down the whole earth? Because you know what I'm saying? They got so much power to fire. And
they invent like the atomic bomb in the 1200s.
Ooh,
they invent the atomic bomb in the 1200s instead.
I like to think that their brain power, they would do something to say that mankind has always done things to.
But then the Genghis Khan existed back then. He probably, if he got access to the atomic bomb back then,
he would have pushed the button.
I mean,
he would have known.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Napoleon. If Napoleon would have had access to the, a nuclear bomb.
Dude, we be speaking French right now.
You know what I'm saying? S'il vous plaît. Shit.
There's a lot of people where we could have been speaking different languages by now. They would have succeeded.
And it is good that they didn't. And there's a reason, I guess, as they say, for the speed of things. The way things play out, as it were. It's just like in athletics when people try to compare past athletes to a modern athlete. Like who would have won between, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson? Who would have won in a foot race in between Jesse Owens? But it's just like, when you consider technological advances, the people of the modern era are always going to be top in that regard, in my opinion. Like Jesse Owens is not as fast as Usain Bolt.
Fuck no.
You know what I'm saying? But Jesse Owens at his time was the first person to do what he did, like with 4 or 5 gold medals in one Olympic race.
And everything got better, like how we were talking about technology, different exercise training. They learned more, and so Usain was able to take who did he say, Carl Lewis?
Well, going further back with Jesse Owens.
Jesse Owens,
yeah.
He was able to take all from what they learned and build on it, and then with every more advanced that we have that he can practice with, he's definitely going to be better. Just like the kids growing up now, they're going to take the things that we have now and, oh man, this is going to be so obsolete for them.
Man, I think about like how breakdancing started in our era. look at modern breakdancing online, y'all, if you ever get the chance. The shit these kids are doing now. I mean, like, back when I was a kid, that's the type of shit that, you wasn't good enough to actually do that, so maybe you drew it. Like, it was some cartoon shit you couldn't really do with kids today will backflip into a head spin, into a somersault, and all. I mean, it's like, holy, and they'd be holding poses in the craziest positions. I mean, we had some great breakdancers in the 80s and early 90s, but you kids today, y'all really advanced the fucking art, man. I mean, god damn, these kids can break dance today.
And that's one thing I have to say that I love about America is how our everything, really, our art, our music, all kinds of things just influences the world. You have kids that would take things that we've done 20, 30 years ago and just keep it alive, and it's like this is the influence that America has around the world.
That's a good place to take this when we speak about ideals, the impressions that we make on other societies. Because like back in the day, the saying of do as the Romans, when in Rome or some shit or whatever, how it goes. Because Romans were the staple in how to be, as it were. You know what I'm saying? And Americans, we make that impressions with our trends. And to some degree, our policy making and stuff, it's questionable in other countries how we conduct ourselves. In certain countries, we're considered infidels and shit that.
Look at how many other countries have the Declaration of Independence, or like a constitution very similar to ours. The French Revolution is the perfect example. It happened 20 years after the American Revolution,
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, we do gotta start wrapping it up.
I was kind of wondering where we were. I was like, we talking good, but I know we kind of felt a little long.
Well, I think maybe 45 minutes.
Is that what we're at?
We're at 50. We should be around 50 right now.
That's good. That's good.
That's nice.
That's good.
We'll get into the rapid fire questions. This is going to be different because I'm not going to answer any of these because I do have the answers. And they're actual questions from the U.S. Constitution, or not Constitution.
Thomas Edison.
Shut the fuck up. They're
Thomas Edison, inventor, by the way, y'all.
They're,
not a politician.
from the citizenship test, which is like very basic
This
American.
man about to give us some trivia pursuit, man. I know it's gonna be a test, man. I mean, I would have studied.
Or at least I think they're easy, but then
I don't know.
Mind you, this guy's a history major.
teacher.
Yeah,
he's
so
a
I mean,
history
it's
guy.
easy. Yeah, okay.
The first question: what are the 3 inalienable rights?
Wow, I feel like I'm in social studies.
Bill, you
again.
literally just said those earlier.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, there we go. There we go. No, because I thought you were going to say something more intrinsic, like the right to vote, the right to freedom of speech, shit, man. Come on, I don't know.
I didn't even know what intrinsical meant.
Hold on, let me look at the source.
In what month do we vote for president?
November.
Yeah. Okay. How many times has America declared war?
Has America declared war? Once. We didn't declare war in World War I. We declared it in World War II, though. Yeah, we did. We declared war in World War II.
Yeah, I know. You're wrong though.
I don't know. I'll say
5.
3, but I'm guessing.
5.
5 times?
Revolutionary. No. War of 1812. Mexican-American
Iraq War.
No, we didn't declare
No, we
war
didn't.
then. Spanish-American War, World War I, and World War II.
We did declare war in World War I.
Mm-hmm. And 1917 we did.
I guess we would have had to in order to be involved, but I mean, the Archduke Ferdinand being shot, that wasn't nothing to do
But
with us.
we didn't get into World War I until.
It's just like World War II, we got in latter, you
Yeah,
know, but we declared it. Like, we literally
Yeah.
declared it in the papers, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Wow.
And that's the only one that I could think of. Oh, in Vietnam, though.
Mhm.
We didn't declare
war.
We just
Oh,
jumped
that
into
was we jumped into
We
that.
jumped
We
into
have
that.
not declared
Yeah.
war since World War II.
Wow. Now
And we
that-
didn't declare Iraq? What happened with that?
No, that was the thing where we just went in Kuwait, asked for our assistance in that case.
Oh.
And then like 9/11, like
That was a
the
response.
president has the authority to send troops for 60 days. And that's kind of how we've got away from declaring war a little bit.
So that was kind of more of a unilateral move.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
He
like-
just like unilaterally was like, okay, we're going over there. Like here recently, where we went over there and they killed somebody in Iran,
Yeah.
which I didn't agree with that. But that's another thing. not so much that about that dude, but it's like the idea of a volatile state, like just unilaterally going and bombing a nation that we're not really up in arms with right now. I don't know.
There's women in church.
But I'm not a politician, so I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
So this question is stated wrong, but it is from last year. But it says, along with gaining the right to buy tobacco, what else can you do when you become 18?
Porn?
At 18, well, I mean, when you say besides the right to vote,
The right to buy tobacco, but the right to vote is what the question is. You
Oh
vote.
shit.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
now you have to be 21 to buy tobacco.
I was gonna say join the army.
and that's really what males we have to sign up with the selective service and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That's just crazy though. Like you can join the army, but you can't like smoke a cigarette. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
God, that is
Or you can't have a
crazy.
beer after shooting somebody.
It's
and
like,
stuff.
man.
Yeah, I want to calm my nerves over here.
Oh, man. No fucking
Got me
shit.
shooting at people and shit.
You mean to tell me I can't?
I can't have a
drink
beer.
after this?
I can't have a beer. I'm not old enough. I'm not mature enough to have a beer, but I can shoot a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Oh, come on.
All right, so these next few are asking about the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments. Can you name 3 of the 5 rights in the First Amendment?
The right to freedom of speech, the freedom of press,
The symbol.
the right to assembly.
Fuck, it's one that's like really weird.
Damn, there's 2 more.
There's like one big one. It's the first one that's stated.
We said freedom of speech, right?
Yeah, that's not the first one. Or not the first according to this.
Freedom of speech, right to assembly, freedom of press.
Yep. You got those 3. There's 2 more.
First Amendment.
I know.
Gun rights and Second Amendment. Okay, I give up.
So y'all missed religion
Damn.
Oh my goodness.
and petition.
I wouldn't have got
I
petition,
wouldn't
but
have
religion.
But
yeah.
religion, that one should have been, definitely.
Okay. Very simple. Do you know? You already said Second Amendment, so I'm gonna skip that question. Do you know what the Third Amendment does?
I do not.
You know what it does?
I think I'm getting it mixed up with the 5th one. I think the 5th one is due process.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what the 3rd one is.
You know, it's the you cannot quarter troops in times of peace.
Oh, okay.
You know, the 4th is
I do not.
no
I do not.
unruly search and seizure.
Oh, okay.
That's really relevant right now.
And then you said 5th is due process, but it's also self-incrimination, plead the 5th.
Pleading the 5th, right. The right to remain silent.
Yeah,
Ah.
those are where your Miranda rights come in.
Everyone knows that one.
Yeah, indeed. At least us criminal-minded ones.
6th, 7th, and 8th are like weird.
What's the 10th Amendment? I'm just throwing that out there.
Rights reserved for states.
Oh, I just thought about something, but that's a whole other conversation.
Free to weed.
Yeah, free to weed. Where's that amendment at? That's what we need. Free to weed. Amendment, 107 or whatever.
We'd be on 28 actually.
It'd be 28 amendments, so we got 27 right now?
Yep.
27, interesting number, because in the music world, that's when everybody, the 27 Club, and we have 27 tenants. Oh my goodness.
And so what is the 27th Amendment?
Okay,
Let me.
yeah, what is the 27th? Yeah, good question.
I know it has something to do with congressmen and how much they get paid.
I don't know if I'm gonna like that one. It allows them to get all that money they be getting.
And give themselves raises.
And vote themselves. Yeah, that's probably what that is. This allows us to vote raises as we see fit, even if we're doing a bad job.
No law varying the compensation of services or senators shall take effect until an election or representative. So it's saying that like if the Senate right now were to vote for a raise, say this guy was like, I really want this raise, but then he gets voted out, it won't go effect until he gets voted out.
Oh, okay, I like that one.
Last question. Do y'all know what the 18th Amendment is?
Whoa. Because that's after it's a little bit after a good ways after rather the Emancipation and Proclamation.
It's the one before the 19th, which is women's rights to vote, women's suffrage.
18. I know this one. Because I literally, it seems like I had a conversation with Joe Calloway and somebody not too long ago about the 18th Amendment. Oh, God, I'm stumped at the moment, though. Anybody else got it?
So this also goes in effect with the 21st Amendment. That gives you any hints. It's the only amendment to ever be repealed.
Okay.
Prohibition.
That's what it was. That's why me and Jeff was talking about it, because we was talking about alcohol in the Prohibition era. Yeah. Ah, man.
The only amendment to ever be like.
Uh-oh. Whoa, you all right? Whoa. God, you okay?
I'm fine.
Oh, okay. Went down the wrong tube there, apparently.
Oh shit, that's a vodka?
Oh, spice in that mug.
That's all the questions I have for today.
Sorry.
All right, yeah, we thought we were about to lose Shaw on the set.
Yeah,
Like
that
talking about
went
the
down.
27 Club, and there she goes going and stuff, man.
That went down the wrong pipe.
All right, well, y'all, thank y'all for watching another beautiful episode of Bridging the Gap, episode 19, talking about American ideals with yours truly, Bill, Shy, Scoob, and Mac. And hope y'all have enjoyed this one, and make sure to tune into the next one. Bridging the Gap!
Look, so we're doing this one differently. Welcome to the end credits. This time, I want y'all to comment the vlog because nobody's watching the vlogs. Go watch them. You're going to see what Bridging the Gap does throughout the week when it's not podcast related, even though it kind of is. But yes, I'm vlogging right now. I just kind of want to do my end credit spiel. Make sure you go follow all the social medias. Please drop a like. Make sure you ding dong that notification bell. And I'm doing this all wrong. So let me put the phone down. So make sure you go, make sure you drop a like on this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, make sure you leave a comment on the video, like I said this week, comment vlog, because go watch the vlogs. Make sure you tweet me, ChefMac1523, and the Bridging the Gap Twitters for the rapid fire questions, because none of y'all have yet, so I'm going to keep getting on you until you do. None of y'all even watch this anyway, so prove to me that you watch it and type vlog in the comments. Yeah, that's all I got to say. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. This was an interesting one because we took the 4th of July and did something a little different to it, which hopefully y'all enjoy. How many questions in the citizenship question test did y'all get right? And I'll see you next week where we're going to go through our top 5 musical albums. See you next week.